The grading methodology that I use is almost certainly different than any you've seen in other courses. So let's take some time to walk through that methodology, understand how it works, and how it's designed to benefit you. First off, the basic numbers. You have the option of not taking the final exam, and if you don't, the remaining four categories are weighted as shown. The online reading quizzes count for 10% of your grade, the homework accounts for 30%, the projects for 20%, and the hour exams for the remaining 40%. If you do choose to take the final exam, it is worth 20%, with those points coming proportionately from the other four categories. Once your course total is determined, the letter grade you receive is determined by the table shown. Note that graduate students are held to a higher standard than undergraduates. So how do we come up with your course total using shift and replace grading? First, let's touch on why and how it benefits you. Most significantly, it builds in an automatic degree of grace in recognition that you all have lives and sometimes life gets in the way. You get sick, you have to care for a sick family member, your car breaks down, you get stuck out of town on a job interview, you have a scheduling conflict that you just can't resolve, or you simply have a lot on your mind and miss or do poorly on an assignment. About 1/5 of the grades in each category will be shifted from your main grade to extra credit. They aren't just dropped so that students that don't miss any assignments can benefit, and also so that you retain some benefit even from your poor scores. This approach applies to all categories, including the hour exams and even the final exam if you take it. Exams and projects are generally broken up into 2 or 3 subcategories for different parts, and each subgrade is a separate score for grading purposes. This system also allows students to take the final exam, and if they do proportionately well on it compared to the rest of their work, they'll receive a slightly disproportionate benefit from doing so, while not resulting in any detriment to students that happen to underperform on it. Experience has shown that this grading system typically results in a grade boost of between half a letter grade and a letter grade and a half. But there are some quid pro quos to be aware of. Because of the grace built into the system, there will be no leniency on submission dates, nor any makeup options made available for missed assignments, including exams. Furthermore, no extra credit opportunities will be made available beyond what is automatically built into the system. But don't fret. A few years ago, I had a graduate student that got stuck out of town on a job interview due to flight cancellations, clearly something beyond their control, and they missed an hour exam. While this resulted in them needing to take the final exam to salvage their grade, they still ended up with an A in the course. So let's walk through an example of how the course total is determined for a student that opts to skip the final. Here are their grades from the Canvas gradebook, and as you can see, with the typical grading approach, they would have a course total of just over 75%. The first step in shift and replace grading is to identify the lowest N scores in each category. You can expect N to be chosen so that approximately 20% of the grades get shifted. The value of N is shown in red, and the scores that will be shifted are highlighted in green. The shifted scores are simply copied over to a new grade sheet using the same weights, and as you can see here, the score is 44%, meaning that they will get 44% of the available extra credit. The unshifted scores are then used to calculate a new course subtotal, and as you can see, this alone has resulted in a significant boost to the total score. Then the extra credit is added in, resulting in a final score, in this case, of slightly over 85%, and almost a full 10 points higher than the original average would have been. Now, what if this person had opted to take the final exam? First off, the with final category weights are used, which all by itself de-emphasizes poor scores. Then the process starts out exactly the same up through shifting the non-FX scores over to extra credit. Once that is done, the lowest score on the final is compared to the lowest remaining score on the hour exams, and if the FX score is higher, those two scores are swapped. After that, the lowest FX score are shifted over to the extra credit. Beyond that, the process is exactly the same. You can look in the PDF file on Canvas to see a full example worked through for this case. Finally, I want to emphasize some important points. As mentioned earlier, later missed assignments receive a 0, period. Second, if you choose to take the final exam, the no final grade is off the table, and your course grade may go up or may go down. So take this into account when making your decision. Third, a deadline to opt out of the final exam will be announced well before the end of the semester. If you don't let me know that you are not taking the final, then you are taking it. If you don't show up, you will get a 0 on it. Finally, as described in the course policies, you can get negative scores on assignments as penalties for violating academic integrity standards. This is rare, but if this happens, those scores cannot be shifted. They will count at full value, and they will reduce the number of scores in that category that can get shifted.